Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today in this session of Tech Dialogues Breaking into AI Safety. And today I have a very special guest. So please take the time to join our community so you are kept up to date with any future sessions and also access to resources. The QR code should be appearing on the left side of your screen, the top left hand corner. So do scan it and it will take you straight into our page to join our community. Again, do share the link with a friend, with everyone. It is a very interesting topic and it is very much on trend right now and very relevant in the current AI age that we live in. So do share. Ask your questions as well in the comment section. If you want to ask any questions, we'll be picking up your questions as we go along in this conversation. Do not waste the opportunity. So ask those pressing questions that you have as it pertains to breaking into AI safety. Today, I have a great guest with me today. Dr. Ayuba Chiudolo is the founder and executive director of AI Safety Nigeria, a pioneering local-led AI safety and governance programming organization in Nigeria, filling the critical gap in Africa's AI governance ecosystem. He is driving the most comprehensive AI literacy and safety movement in Nigeria today through the Learn and Launch series, a monthly capacity building, AI safety and governance fellowships, and undergraduate AI reading groups. He is building homegrown capacity for responsible AI that a few on the continent can match. He is the convener of the first AI Safety Summit in Nigeria and the African Cybersecurity Convention, first held in Rwanda. Dr. Tuadolo brings over 16 years of cybersecurity expertise to the governance frontier. He serves also on the Advisory Council of Black in AI and Ethics in the United States and mentors emerging AI safety organizations across Africa. He is driven by an unwavering commitment to improving lives through technology. Welcome to the stage, Dr. Chiudolo. It's really, really lovely to have you. Can you hear us and see us okay? I think there may be a slight delay.
Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. It's quite an honor to to be here today and joining other members to also be here. Thank you for this great opportunity.
Amazing, and thank you so much for availing your time to speak to our community. So how it will work is we'll have some questions, but the audience members will also um, ask some questions. And I've seen some people in the chat showing where they're watching from. Do also just comment where you are watching from. It'd be great to know. All right. So, for someone completely new to this space, Dr. Yuba, how would you define AI safety in simple terms?
Mm. Yes, so every time I want to talk to people about AI safety, I said, look, if you are going to be driving a car without having a seatbelt, or you are in an aircraft without having to buckle up or tighten up your seatbelt, and that's the
Mm,
kind of risk that people are in AI.
mm,
So you take up a technology and you don't find any safe place in that technology, and that's basically one very simple term we can use to express that AI safety is key and it needs to ensure that you are safe while you use it. So, in simple terms, it is the safest way to deploy or use artificial intelligence and make sure it is ethical, it is inclusive, and it protects lives and the people that use those technologies.
Yeah, and I would imagine that's a big priority now. And I think often it's overlooked. Like you mentioned, if you use the analogy of a car and a seatbelt, you won't concentrate on building a car without a seatbelt. That would be crazy because it's bound to result in casualties. So I do think it's a very, very important area. So that just leads me on to my next question. What made you personally move into safety and AI safety and governance, particularly? Because I know you also come from a sort of
Yeah, so
cybersecurity.
So Nigeria is one of the biggest markets for technology. And I always tell people every time Nigeria sneezes, the rest of Africa catches cold. And so
Mm,
I have seen a lot of technologies, especially because I have a background in cybersecurity, and I've seen a whole lot of attacks in, organizational frameworks or organizational systems, and I see how dangerous it has happened. I also see how the young people in Nigeria have also been, one way or the other migrated into some of the most terrible ways to make money online and using
mm,
systems, to build, and which is actually happening today. Today, one of the biggest challenges we have in AI safety is, financial fraud using artificial intelligence generated content to commit financial fraud. And so I think that we should be able to find a way to govern what we are consuming. And I saw a very big gap, and I
mm.
came, brought friends and families and said, look, we need to get something done. And today I can tell you we are building one of the biggest and largest talent pipelines in Nigeria and in Africa. We are not just a voice, we are on the table currently, and we're helping to help government shape policies and build a safer AI, ecosystem for Nigeria. My passion is to ensure that we do not have a non-governance structure. We don't wait until innovation before we need to regulate. And that's
Yes.
where, and this is where we've always gotten it wrong. We always wait for innovation and then we go back and start fighting and say, no, AI is growing faster. And if we do that, we may not be able to catch up with what
Mm.
is happening.
Absolutely. And I dare to say regulation and governance always seems to fall lag behind innovation. And sometimes it's almost like things get broken before we see the importance. And that mindset needs to also needs to change. I'm just going to divert to the chat. So Jasmine Dench has asked, and again, maybe because of your cybersecurity background, has mentioned, can someone from cybersecurity transition into AI safety without machine learning experience? So do you have to be, you know, within machine learning and have that expertise to transfer into that line of work?
AI safety, yes, you do not have to have machine learning experience because we've got different aspects of AI safety. So we've got alignment. So if you're going into machine learning and all of that, however, you need to have an experience in, how these things are built, how large language models are designed. You need to have some algorithm perspective. But most importantly, in AI safety and governance, we are looking at how governance, how is AI safety governed, around the world, and what are the policy toolkits that are available, and then how we can begin to study other frameworks around the world, like the EU AI Act,
Yeah.
and other frameworks. And that's all basically you need to begin to build. And begin to see how you can draft policies because you've gotten experience on policy toolkits and the rest of that. So that's
Mhm.
basically what it is.
Okay, no, that makes sense. Thank you. And I have a follow-on question from that because, again, a lot of our community, they're in different stages in their careers. Some are looking to transition into technology careers, some are looking to progress within technology, some are just looking to move into a different area. And one of the things that comes up quite a bit is formalized certifications. So what certifications you need to do. But I want to also ask the question that you talked about having experience in certain things. Do you think that in a lot of it can be self-taught? So do people need to take a pause from paid certifications, build up their knowledge, do individual projects before they approach certificates? And if they're to approach certifications, which certifications would you maybe recommend? Apologies,
Um,
yours. Yeah.
Yeah, basically around AI safety and governance, there are a whole lot of free tools. There are a whole lot of fellowships here and there. You know, there's Black in AI safety and ethics fellowship. There's a whole couple of them. There are some by Blue Dots. They're all totally free. We are currently rounding off ours. The first, the very first AI safety and governance fellowship organized by an indigenous organization in Nigeria, and seems to be one of the largest, 91 fellow in total. And all of these are going for free. As a matter of fact, there are some that are even paid for. So you don't have to pay, but I mean, the organization will pay you, because at the end of the day, you're coming up with projects that could solve lots of problems in the ecosystem. So in terms of certification, we are not so big on certification. Yeah, it's good to prove that you have been able to go through the necessary criteria that makes you a more a practitioner around this space. However, you can also have a self-paced learning course. We have some by Google. We have some by Teach Somebody. There are a couple of other sites you can build, sign up and just have a self-paced training for yourself. And after then, you can get those certification and you can begin to contribute.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because in one of our tech and career labs, we had a speaker, and he was saying the same thing, that certifications are great, but often that's people's first point, but it doesn't have to be. And like you mentioned, they're great fellowships, they're great communities that you can join to build up those skills, even get involved in some projects, and again, free to join, and some will even pay you. And I see another question in the chat that speaks about how students or graduates can gain practical experience in AI safety. So I was just wondering if maybe you can just elaborate a little bit more on things like the fellowships. I know you do a lot of work with undergraduate students, particularly. You do a lot of work with researchers, and you're also involved with, of course, the organization in America, which I know quite well as well, the Black in AI and Ethics, which does a lot of great work. So would you just maybe talk about the experience that you've seen that especially students and new graduates have gotten in those programs?
Yes, so we've actually have passions for undergraduates, new graduates, students who are in their maybe late stages of graduating in school, and that's why we have a long-termist kind of thinking. And one of the best way we're working with them is to build AI literacy. We're partnering with universities across Nigeria. We have that currently with University of Abuja. We have that with University of Lagos. And most importantly, we've got a reading group. And the reading group is mostly populated by undergraduate students, because we want a foundation for them. We want them to begin to see, how they need to get to do this. Because again, we can't probably put them, in a much more, physical class, or make them very committed to always being in fellowships. And so we said, look, we can do a simple thing that will work and go in line with your style of study. And so we have the reading group, and so far we are producing one of the best undergraduate students. We've been featuring one or two of them even in our LLS. A young guy called Mubarak is in his 300 level. He's a fantastic AI specialist. Currently, has been selected in one of the national essays in Africa as one of the first 10 100 best. And we're hoping that he scale up to maybe come up to be one of the very first 10. Our fellowships are also very important. We've got, as a matter of fact, we've been able to train young undergraduates to the point of being facilitators. So gratefully for us, one of our students through LLS is now a facilitator in our fellowship. And that's how much we have interest for undergraduate students in this ecosystem.
That's amazing. I think so much can come from that. And I think as well, what happens is people don't really know about these fellowships so much. You'd be very, very surprised that this knowledge is just not readily out there. And again, I followed the community that you lead, and it's a lot of great work. And as you've sort of described, it's something that if people were to get involved in, AI safety won't feel like something super theoretical, which sometimes it can feel like. All right, I can see some questions in the chat. Someone has said, what separates organizations that treat AI safety as a strategic advantage from those that approach it primarily as a compliance exercise? I like this question. I'll repeat it. What separates organizations that treat AI safety as a strategic advantage than those that approach it as a compliance exercise, a tick box exercise? Apologies, Dr. Yuva, you're on mute.
Yeah. So that's really a very tricky one because compliance is actually part of governance structure. When we look at regulations and compliance, we are basically all trying to advocate to say, look, what is the means for regulation without compliance, or what is the need for governance without compliance? And so I think that especially speaking from the global south, we are even yet in the phase where we are seeing huge compliance, because it is more or less like you are talking about it and you are asking people to comply. We think nobody complies if there is no level of regulation or enforcement. So that's why I said it's tricky, because at the end of the day, if you don't have people to enforce some things, people hardly comply. And so I do not know if we're at the point where we have some organizations who are currently just trying to ensure compliance only. Because in governance, we are pushing for both compliance and we're pushing for both enforcement. We have been able to see that in the EU, part of the things they have been able to achieve is to ensure proper compliance, which we think it has been a bit stricter and has pushed a lot of innovators out of the EU region. And we are saying that in this part of the world, we hope that we can be able to push for both at the same time, but not be so stiff, so we do not, discourage innovation in the work and in the enforcement that we run. And I guess that is the reason why the e-governance bill 2025 is giving just a little tap, a little pat on the wrist to say, look, if your system goes wrong, you pay just $6,000. And we think that is quite ridiculous for a big tech company to pay $6,000 when something goes wrong. I mean, it's not what it is.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for that answer. We have another comment in the chat, and it says, what are some common mistakes people make when trying to pivot into AI safety, and how can we avoid them?
Yes. So one of the very common mistakes around this is a lot of people see AI safety as a tool or a place where, like the regular, pathways to make huge wealth.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, that is not what it is. It is an emerging field where people are going to build a system for now. Maybe in the future, you can begin to, have some huge gains for it. I know in the developed world, like in the global north, currently organizations are asking for AI governance specialists, to anchor their governance aspects in their company and their organizations. When the global south, it is still picking up. And that is why when some persons come in, they begin to, lag behind. Another very second most important mistake people make is when they come in, they think it is all about alignment, just like the first person who asked the question.
Yeah.
It is not all about alignment. It is not all about the algorithm calculation, all the data sets and all. No. Yes, you must have a foundation about that. And we've noticed that during our first 1 week, 2 weeks of fellowship, we try to make that introduction. People actually begin to slow down. And when we found out during our search, we realized that they were already thinking that this is the pattern and they are not ready for all the mathematical calculations. And so, but eventually, the ones who have stayed today are producing and are solving one of the best and the biggest problems that we have in the ecosystem. And today we are proud of their research output, and
Yeah.
we have said that we're going to showcase some of our top researchers in the fellowship as well while
Mhm.
we wrap up the fellowship.
Yeah. No, amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for that answer. And I wanted to ask as well, what type of career opportunities do you see emerging within AI safety? If you were to maybe break it down into categories.
So basically, first of all, we are looking at
Mm,
so many opportunities for people in AI safety and governance, because the future for AI is just emerging. We are
mhm.
getting to to much more serious aspect of governance and of AI in the world. First, we see opportunities in the financial sector.
Mhm.
We see opportunities in the agricultural sector. We see opportunities in the housing sector. We see opportunities in government sectors. And we see opportunities also in the health sector. So these are huge because all of these sectors are all now taking and using artificial intelligence to deploy their systems from, agriculture, production,
Yeah.
medical advices, and all of that. We need governance specialists in every aspect of these categories I've just mentioned. Nothing can work if we don't have all of these guys in place. Even in the judiciary, we have large opportunities, and you don't have to be a lawyer to
Yeah.
even head governance departments in the judiciary, because you have what it takes. You know how to govern the systems. You know when the systems are failing, and you know the measures you need to put to protect people from bias and from misinformation. So it's a whole lot of opportunity, and for
Mhm.
me, I think there's no end to the opportunities.
Yes, absolutely. It is. It does also seem quite broad. If I'm to say that, what do you think are so? If I'm sitting now here, I'm not in AI governance. I've been or AI safety. I've been inspired to get into it. What are some of the skills that you've seen in practice that are useful for an individual that may have that desire that you think can translate quite well into the field? And this doesn't have to be technical skills, more of yeah, it could be attention to details. I don't know, but what are the skills you would say?
Basically, I think one of the basic is having the skills for research.
Okay, yeah.
That's one of your core, because no policy is brought out, no good policy, no governance structure, no governance framework can come out best without research.
Mm-hmm.
Research is the bedrock. So every time I talk to my team, I said, look, one of the guys we don't joke with is our research team.
Yeah.
And if you take a look in our organization, our research director is a law professor from
Mm,
Washington State. He's worked with the Capitol Hill for over 8 years, in the US, and he's got that broad knowledge when it comes to research and policy. And that's why we took that kind of personality for the foundation that we are building for everybody. So nobody goes through our system without having to tap from the knowledge of that level and the knowledge we all bring together. So first of all, research skill is key. And because of that, we are saying we want to start a small fellowship to begin to teach young undergraduates how to research, because
mm,
nobody ever gets to teach anybody how to research, but they put criteria to say, look, if you want to get into this, you must have some skills in research. But whoever gets to teach people how to research, and
Yeah.
that's one of the things we're building. We want to teach young people how to research from scratch and begin to do something with their lives. Yeah.
And I think that's very important, honestly, because, and I think a lot of our community, and especially people that are earlier in their career trajectory, they're struggling with. They know the requirements, but it's how do I get to that point? As you mentioned, you have to understand research and how to research. How do I learn how to do it? And I think again, it just emphasizes the importance of being part of fellowships, being part of these communities as well, particularly as it pertains to AI safety. And someone has actually asked in the chat, how can we access the fellowships in Nigeria, and how can those outside Abuja and Lagos access your network?
Awesome. So first of all, we're rounding off with our first fellowship. We're hoping that applications for the next cohort starts in September, and we are able to share other opportunities outside our fellowship, because we believe that partnership is key. So we partner with other organizations that are also running fellowship. We don't want to say, look, it has to be AI Safety Nigeria. We
Yeah.
want to connect people to other fellowships. We want to build this ecosystem for Nigeria and to make the Global South, stay on the table. Every time we say we want to be on the table, I said, what are you bringing to the table? We must have something to bring to the table. And you all out there listening to this are the people who would need to bring and design what will be on the table. So we don't care whether it's AI Safety Nigeria. We don't care if it's AI Safety South Africa. We don't care if it's Black in AI and Ethics. We want to share the opportunities. I know you're going to share our resource, our website, where you can connect with our community. You want to partner, you want to do anything. And we have a community on Slack and on WhatsApp, and you can get access to our reading groups. When we make on LinkedIn, when we make announcements, you can see links to join or register for any of those programs
Yeah.
outside Abuja.
Thank you. We'll be sharing that with you. And as mentioned, there are many all around the world. There's some that are remote, some that are physical, but similar to Dr. Yuba. Again, it doesn't have to even be the ones with. That's why we bring people from different communities, because there is enough, and the importance is that our voice is heard, especially for those that will be sometimes most affected by the repercussions of AI. I have another question, Dr. Yuva, and I don't know if you have the solution. I was speaking to a couple of people again that run these fellowships. And again, the problem with the fellowships is a lot of people apply, and there's never enough to take everyone. But then the whole reason we create the fellowships is to support people to enter. So often the people that maybe need it the most may not, because it's so competitive, may not get into them. How do we solve this dilemma, and how do we support these people?
Yeah, so that's been a big challenge for us as well. We got overwhelming numbers, and I think I've shared that even on our page. One of the biggest problems we've had or challenges is funding.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the fellowships are capped based on funding, and in some cases they are not funded at all. Like the one we ran is not funded. So
Mm-hmm.
everything you see, was done from our own pockets. And
Mm-hmm.
so we're limited. And yet we see a couple of people, and we're not saying that they don't qualify, because we believe everybody who apply, you know, again, but there are some that we put some key indications to check
Mm-hmm.
what is their readiness.
Yeah.
And just so you know, not everybody that applied and was selected ended up rounding off with the session. So that's to tell you the level of readiness. The level of readiness can be, oh, I want to do this, and they are not able to do that.
Yes.
Secondly, some persons feel that it's all about certification. People from this part of the world believe that certification is key and all. So they don't want to be in class, but they want to get certified. And
Yeah.
that's another challenge. So that's the level of readiness we think it's not sometimes available for some people. But again, that's the reason why we are also running this yearly. And we have said that we're going to consider the previous people, maybe 50% of the other people that didn't get the chance to be on the first cohort, and then bring them in and then take more people. As we build on the backlogs, we are also taking out of the backlogs, to just make sure we are meeting the demands.
Absolutely, absolutely. And thank you for that. And I think this my call as well to organizations and individuals and professionals, if you are able to volunteer your time, or if your companies are able to sponsor initiatives like that, please do keep that in mind. I think it is very necessary now. And also, it is a very rewarding thing to do. So, whether that is you're offering your time for mentorship or to support these very great fellowships that are running, or if you're able to support as well through funding, it is a great opportunity to take. Thank you for that, Dr. Ayuba. Someone has asked here, what does a typical day look like for someone working in AI governance or AI safety? If
Yeah,
there is a day.
yeah. So, so a typical day for an AI safety practitioner is basically research.
Okay.
That's one of the biggest thing, because you never get to stop researching. You are
Mm,
looking at what is the next big thing coming up in the AI industry. You're looking at what is Anthropic coming with. Why are they bringing this? How dangerous will this be to your organization? You're looking at, whoa, these are the next phase we're looking at in our organization. You're looking at laws guiding, or governing AI in the country that you, or the region that you locate or you are located in, and to ensure that you continue to update. You can't just be, oh, look, it is not about building these policies and sitting down. No,
mhm.
they need to be updated, on a regular basis. You need to ensure that you are not behind when it comes to policy and the quality of the policies you are bringing out for your organization.
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. And I think, like you mentioned, I think being a researcher myself, it's things are moving so quickly, it's even hard to keep up. So if you stay stagnant or still for a long time, you will really, really miss the mark.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I completely agree. Someone has also asked here, what entry level AI safety roles should people be searching for on LinkedIn if they're looking for jobs?
Yeah, I think you probably be looking at, because again, some organizations are not just asking for AI governance as a skill or as a certification. They're also looking at maybe other institutional qualification. If you've got a master's, if you've got a PhD, I've seen organizations where saying they're looking for operational managers, but you have to have at least or be at least a PhD holder. In some cases, they are saying you need to have a master's degree. So, but it all depends on what category you are looking at. So, if it is something that has to do with academic qualification, then you know your level of academic qualification. But if it has to do with AI safety and governance, if you've got certification in any of these fellowship, Blue Dots, organizational fellowship that has got some good credibility in their curriculum, then you're ready to go. Entry level, mid level careers, any of these, you are good to apply.
Yeah.
You, like I said, one of the best things these guys will look at: what are the works you've done, what are your papers, what are your research tools, or what are your researches you've been able to produce. These are some of the things that you probably be looking at when you are applying for roles in AI safety and governance.
Absolutely. And I feel like the roles are also, as AI is evolving, companies are still evolving in what they actually want candidates to have. So the job title may not be, we may not be able to give you 6 job titles that you should search for on LinkedIn. So maybe you're looking at keywords, things that you're interested in, because companies are also trying to shape what exactly these roles look like in AI governance. As you mentioned, especially with the EU AI Act now coming out, you may be seeing more roles with the word AI governance. But
Mm.
historically, there hasn't been a lot of. They may not state it in the headline, AI safety, AI governance, but the role itself embodies what we are discussing. So yeah, and I think again, community is important, because when you're part of a community, you can again reach out, get understanding of what is actually even out there, understand what other people are working on, see what you can get involved in. So your network really does matter.
Mm.
Okay, next question. How important is technical knowledge versus governance, policy, or cybersecurity knowledge when it comes to AI safety?
I think what those would give to you is an added advantage to what you're doing in AI safety and governance.
Mhm.
I tend to understand when you begin to talk about algorithmic bias. I get to understand better when you are saying that, oh, large language models are trained in data that are not, you know, known by a particular region.
Yeah.
That's because of my technical background. I get to possibly understand better how, a deep fake can be used to, cause some level of manipulation. Or I can equally also have a basic understanding how, adversaries are designed, to cause issues around artificial intelligence systems. Now that's just what it is. But ordinarily, I can do without all of the technicalities and
Mhm.
just dwell in policies
Right.
and dwell in governance. But I think it's still very good if you've got all of this knowledge. Machine learning knowledge is very key, and there are opportunities for people. We've got some of our community members got scholarships, to go study masters in machine learning engineering, as in the University of Cape Town.
Mhm.
Some were sponsored by Google DeepMind and a couple of them. And there's so many other opportunities available. Anthropic is giving scholarship, is funding a couple of other people who wants to, get into this aspect. So the technicalities is another advantage, most of the time, and compared to just the policy and governance aspect of AI safety.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for that. And then another question is, what are some of the biggest AI risks organizations are currently underestimating in your experience?
So I I was just at a big stakeholder engagement in Lagos, right just a few days ago on Monday, and I was asked this same question in the panel, and I said most big organizations today are looking at frontier issues around AI. Big powerful tech organizations are looking at oh, is this a catastrophic risk or an existential risk? But one of the biggest challenge the world is going to be facing is weaponizing artificial intelligence, to advance, itself during war, and
Mm,
misinformation. Misinformation is a big tool that can cause existential risk in the sense of human-centered algorithm. And not just 2 days after I'd mentioned that, we saw a deep fake that was projected to the president of Nigeria, where his voice was cloned, and
mm,
it has already gone to over 40 million views already
wow.
before they even got to know it was deep fake. And that has made us to, that's vindicated us in all the things we've said. We've got the publications currently on our LinkedIn, and we've had that publications ready since March, but we just felt this is the right time to let it out, and we've just published it a few days ago.
Mm,
Misinformation is one of our biggest problem. It's going to
yes,
affect how elections are done. It's going to affect how communities resolve problems. It's going to affect how crises are resolved, or how crises can be escalated.
absolutely, absolutely. And I did see that actually. It was interesting because I was speaking to some students as well last week, and we were discussing how cybersecurity may change with AI. And we're saying that before, you sort of have the phishing links and things like that, and it's very, very easy to spot. But safety is going to become a major concern because systems are becoming so much more intelligent. So yeah, thank you for that. Someone has asked here, how do you see AI safety impacting the future of work?
Mm. So yes, I think it's going to be challenging because a couple of organizations are not adopting the AI safety measures in their systems. Currently, we have so much that it will affect work mostly, maybe in the negative, because already people are getting disqualified by wrong credit scoring systems that were designed without them in mind. People are getting disqualified for loans that they should have access to. People are already getting you know um, you know profiled, gender profiled in their workplaces. And that's the role of AI safety, to ensure those things don't happen. We believe that to a large extent, um, all of these can be minimally reduced because already people are running with the technology without safety. And
Yes.
that is what I just mentioned, that even the presidency could not verify if that was a deep fake before they made a statement. That is to tell you how terrible. So if in my publication I said, if the president can be deep faked, the most powerful man in Nigeria can be deep faked, then we are all in trouble. We
Mm-hmm.
need to act very fast, and so that our works can also be secured. And part of the things we want to do to ensure that it's secured, and the roles that AI safety will play, is to ensure that your jobs are not handed over to machines,
Mm-hmm.
because that is going to be profiling. We only want to ensure that whatever systems you put in place would enhance your job and not take away the job.
Yes, yes, and that's a very big. We could go into that one, Dr. Yuba, for another hour if we, or a few hours if we had the time. Thank you. That's a really, really thorough answer to that question. And we are running out of time, so we'll go to the final question. And just again, your final words of advice. If someone attending today wanted to transition into AI safety, what practical steps should they take after this session?
Yeah, so if you want to transition into AI safety, one of the basic things for you to look out to before you begin to think about fellowship and courses is to begin to read about AI. What are, first of all, even just go around and play around with the internet and look at who is Anthropic, what they do, who is Google DeepMind, who is OpenAI, and all of that, and begin to tell yourself, having to understand that, oh, AI is not about generative AI. It's not just only agentic AI. It is encompassing and it is large. And you begin to break down those things into little bits of knowledge, for
Mhm.
you. Get yourself familiar with large language models. Get yourself familiar with algorithms. Get yourself familiar with data sets. And these are the basic languages you get to meet while you get into proper learning environment, having done this.
Yes, no, thank you. Very, very good advice. Thank you so much, Dr. Yuba, for joining us today. We will be sharing with the rest of the audience and everybody that would have registered, both those that are watching on demand after this is aired, and those that are part of our community will be sharing all details for the work that Dr. Oyuba does. So do take the instructions and follow, join fellowships where you can, and get involved if you're already a practitioner. Thank you once again for joining us. We look forward to welcoming you to further editions of Tech Dialogues. please to join the community so we can keep you up to date with some of the exciting things we have coming up next month and for the rest of the year. Join us same end of the last Saturday of the month next month for another great Tech Dialogues. Looking forward to having you again. Thank you.